Okay, I'm going to do my best to make this kind of brief. I know that a lot of people that probably watch me don't really know me, obviously, and know very much about my story, but that's kind of besides the point. I'm just gonna be vulnerable and be transparent because that's how change happens. So I've been posting content on Instagram consistently for like the past 3 years, and within the last like 2 years a lot has changed for me, and a lot has changed for everybody, I know, but I was in a different relationship and was engaged to be married, and that fell through, and I had to basically pack up my stuff, what I could, into my truck and pack up my children and basically flee back to my parents' house to live, because I didn't have anywhere else to go. Literally did not have anywhere else to go. So I came back to my childhood home, which was not my first choice, but like I said, I didn't have anywhere else to go. And as some of you may or may not know, part of the reason why it was not my first choice was because of the abuse that I suffered growing up here, and how that traumatized me. And for the sake of my children having shelter and a safe place to lay their head at night, for the past 2 years, I've just sucked it up and pushed through it. But a lot of that has been kind of difficult, and it's been pretty difficult because I still feel like I'm being forced to subject myself back into this environment that is not healthy, for the sake of not being on the streets. So part of me having a big struggle with being back here is, and I've spoke about this in my YouTube, in some of my videos on YouTube, is that the room that it's my childhood room, the room that I'm even in is the same room where I was sexually abused. And so having to sleep in the same room it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And it's like the analogy of trying to force a plant to thrive and grow in soil that has been depleted and has no nutrients. It's going to die. And I feel like I have put on a good brave face for as long as I can, and pushing through things that are very uncomfortable, very heavy, and all the while, getting back to my point, all the while still having to be indirectly forced around these same family members that abused me. And so now this stuff is leaking out. It's coming out because there are certain get-togethers, there's weddings, there's funerals, there's all these events, family events that are happening where the people that preyed upon me as a child are present, and not having the support system in place to set boundaries previously, I was very triggered by having to not only be in the same environment where these things happen, but also be around these people too, because again, here we go with, well, I've now learned how to set boundaries. I've gotten better at setting boundaries. And now the rest of the family is all up in arms about, well, what's the big deal? Why is it that you don't want to be around so-and-so? Or why is it that it's an issue for you to, why are you acting weird with this person over here? And everybody's sensing that something is off and the energy is off. And when I speak my truth and talk about why it's a problem, nobody it's repeating the same cycle that I experienced all those years ago, of no one wanting to talk about it, no one wanting to address it, no one wanting to be held accountable. And it's very frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. It's just the same loop. And the only reason why I'm here is because of my children. I've had to recently make it where a lot of my family cannot see my stuff anymore, because they all are primarily there to just gawk and watch and stalk what it is that I'm saying, what it is that I am posting online. And it's been over 30 years that some of this stuff has taken place, because there have been multiple events of SA, as people are making it a term online, of SA, because you can't say the other stuff. It's been over 30 years for some of these occurrences, and even when I had brought it to their attention years ago, I was silenced. I was they gaslit me into not feeling it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't something that was worthy of bringing up or addressing. And I believed that as a child for a very long time. So this is not to place blame. This is more about me expressing what I need and what I want out of this situation. I cannot continue on posting and putting on a brave face when I'm in an environment that is trying to drain and deplete me of all of the light that I have inside of me to keep me quiet. It's gotten to the point now where people are driving by this house, and I have it on camera. I've recorded these people on video. People are driving by the house. They're taking pictures of the house. And I'm literally just talking about the things that I survived through and the things that I lived through. I know why they have such a big problem with it, and I believe a good portion of it is because this is something that is a repeat cycle in my bloodline, where a lot of people were SA'd. There's a lot of incest in my family. Okay? And it is a big problem on both sides. It's not just on one side, it's on both sides. And as of yet, I have not seen anybody else within my family speak up about it publicly and not have this shame and guilt attached to it, where you know, it's making it where other people are like, oh, I'm not going to talk about that, or I'm not going to bring it up. Some people who have been through that may never want to talk about it, and that's okay. But don't try to shun or shame someone else who does have enough strength to get up and speak on it, because that would put you in a different category. And that's what I'm noticing, is that there are people in my family that would rather protect the people who have done this, as if they don't want the cycle to stop, as if they want these things to just be swept under the rug. And that's the whole point of why this is so important to me, why I'm going to keep talking about it and bringing it up and exposing it, is because it's not just the people who are abusing, it's the people who are protecting and enabling this behavior as well. And the ones who know about it, who can say something, who have the means, the resources, the power to put an end to it, and they don't. And when somebody else feels like, well, I'm going to say something, then you become the target and the spotlight of like, oh, you're doing this, that, and the other, and I'm ruffling feathers and causing everybody to feel uncomfortable, or I'm doing something wrong. And that is manipulation. You cannot tell somebody else to stop talking about their lived experiences. It's fine for everybody else to get on the internet and talk about the things that they survived through, and people be right there commenting, oh, you're so strong, oh, you're so brave, and good for you for speaking up. But if I say something about it, it's a problem. Absolutely not. They don't like that. It's not to point the finger. It's not to place blame. People need to be accountable, though, for how things played out, because this stuff is very damaging. It's very destructive to people's lives. And they don't want to face those facts. They don't want to look at that. So as heavy as this stuff is, it is literally my job to talk about this stuff. God has placed it on me to make it my soul's purpose to help protect and educate others to prevent stuff like this from happening in the future. If you're not trying to help protect the children, what are you doing? So I'm saying all of this to say, I'm asking for support. I'm asking for resources. I've tried to call multiple shelters to get me and my family out of this house, and I cannot find any shelters that can take us because they are full. I'm not in a place to reach out to any family because they all are in cahoots together. They all work together. I do not trust any of them because they all talk about me behind my back and sit and gossip, and I'm not going down that path. I'm not interested in having any type of ties to them for support, because multiple people in my family know about this stuff and they are silent. Just because, and I know that that's another thing that people they like to throw and toss in my face is, well, that happened to me too, and you just need to get over it, or you still talking about that, you still upset about that, you need to let that go, or you unhealed. Just because I cry, just because I am passionate about speaking about this, I hope you guys can still hear me, even though at whatever time this is in the morning, somebody's starting up the motorcycle. Even though I'm very passionate about this stuff and I get very emotional at times, I'm just an emotional person. I'm a very sensitive person, and I oftentimes will get very like welled up talking about some of this stuff, because it's a lot, y'all. It's so much trying to not harden yourself and close yourself off and be vulnerable and be authentic and transparent with people, so people can see the real you without breaking down. Because a lot of times I choose to be silent, and that works for me, because the rage and the anger, sometimes it is definitely present. Don't get it twisted for 1 second, but I have to put that in a little compartment, because if I let the anger and the rage run my life, I would have self-destructed by now. So that's a part of it, is learning how to take parts that are not serving us at a specific time and put them in a little box and put them away, because there is a space for it, but you have to be aware of how to properly utilize it in a healthy way, so that you're not hurting yourself or others. So, and I don't show a lot of this, but I get a lot of that out sometimes with, like, when I am in my own private space where I can just dance how I want to dance, and stretch my body and do exercises like that help release that energy, or in my artwork, I'll do stuff that in the music that I sometimes will play will help me transmute that energy and get it out, so I'm not holding on to it. I'm trying to see if I want to pause this, because that's very, very annoying. And my brain is having a hard time right now. So I may pause it. Because I really don't want to keep trying to talk over